Hello, welcome everybody. It's Holger Mueller from Constellation Research with a special guest today. Friend, follow sports athlete, and analyst, influencer, advisor Thomas Otter is with me. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Holger. Wie geht's dir? How are you doing?
Mir geht's gut. Shall we do this in German? We're over in under 1 minute. No, let's go to this inaccurate English language,
we'll
right?
have a listening audience of about 3 people.
Yeah. So. And we want to speak about our latest revelations on how to do triathlon training, right? Because you're pulling them off. I always get injured before I can compete. So what's the secret sauce, Thomas?
The secret sauce is to tell everybody in the whole world that you're doing it, and then you end up having to do it.
So it's the pressure, right? It's the pressure. Well, that works pressure. Everywhere, right? That works for sports. That works for work as well, I have to say, right? So, but we don't worry, we're not going to speak about our sports exploits here.
Ego is pretty key. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. But we want to talk about Workday Rising, where we both were this week, right? So I've published my one slide, which I can share here as a cheat sheet as well. Of course, figuring out the wrong way how to share this so we can still see us, which is the beauty of this new tool called StreamYard, so you can still see us and what we took away from there, right? So Orlando was humid as always, right? Did you go and work out? Last workout question, I promise, for everybody.
No, I had a one run. What I do have is those new fancy Nike Vapor shoes, the ones that broke the record.
Amazing.
The other day. I have the same shoes, so I didn't break any records though. With
I'll never be able to compete with you since you got the shoes now.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's all the gear, no idea. That's me.
So humid as always, kind of like interesting, right? You've been there many times. When people know you've worked SAP multiple times, right? It's kind of like weird to be in the OCCC, the Orange County Convention Center. And it's still blue branding, but it's not the dark blue from SAP. It's the light blue from Workday, right? So it's kind of like deja vu, and you go on the show floor and think, oh, this is set up and so on.
True. The last time I've been to Workday Rising was when it was in Vegas, probably about 8 years ago. So it was very interesting to see how things had moved on, and being in that convention center was slightly surreal, having been there probably 20 times in various SAP events over the years. So it was really cool to be there, and lots going on, I think.
The
main thing I got was one of execution. I felt like, they continue to execute on things they're saying they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think in software, sometimes we underestimate the value of that. It's always nice to talk about the next shiny thing, but it's also quite nice to see, consistency of execution. I had a feeling there was quite a lot of that going on.
You're absolutely right. And I give Workday big kudos that if they fail, which happens, right, they keep going at it, right? So their whole big data analytics thing is a story of over 4 years, which you don't have to recapitulate here, but they've done that. And that's what matters to customers, that you say what you do and deliver what you do ultimately, because that's what you align your rollout plans with. And Workday definitely gets high praise there, right? But the big message starting with Anil was, would say almost machine learning über alles, right? So everything transfused and changed with machine learning, right?
I think there's a subtle, one of the things that they didn't say, which I actually quite liked, was he didn't say AI. He didn't overplay it. It was really focused on machine learning rather than that some sort of wizardry stuff. And I think that I felt was quite realistic. Workday's definition of, I think, around machine learning is quite realistic and deliverable. They're not attempting to solve world hunger with AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're really looking at bringing improvements into business processes using machine learning, which I felt was a realistic and doable proposition. Whereas some of the propositions around AI are really just future music, and this seemed relatively realistic, I think.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I always prefer people calling it machine learning, because I think we still haven't arrived AI, but the marketeers have taken over and call way too many things AI, which are not really AI. But so
I would agree with you there. I think
we're
very much still in machine. It's nice to see actual machine learning,
right?
Rather than just a good report,
right? And they try to put it into their applications, HR, finance, more specific talent planning. So building these purpose-built machine learning apps is definitely what will fuel efficiencies for enterprises for the next 2-3 years, I think, right? So And the other main...
A couple of other things I took out of it. I think the point about the machine learning is not just the machine learning itself. To make machine learning work, you need data. And the thing that I took out of the event is that Workday have been quite considered about their strategy towards data. So in other words, what data is the machine learning going to be built upon? And having, the consent or commercial relationship with your customers and the users of those customers to use the data, and for that data to be of an acceptable quality and format for which you do coherent machine learning is quite a big deal. And that was probably more important to me than the mechanics of the machine learning, was the fact that they had a coherent data strategy in place for the machine learning.
Right. Well, you can't have good machine learning without the proper data, right? So if the data is bad, the machine learning will be not so good as well. But they also had a major thing announced where also machine learning plays into, is the way how people interact with the software on the UX side, right? They launched the new people experience. They're collapsing the UI. It's kind of like question and answer part. You don't have to be a master of the navigation structure. I didn't have a chance to play with it because I was so short. Did you have a more closer look at it, or a chance to look at it?
I saw a couple of presentations on it. The one part of it I really liked. I felt like the UI experience was really coherent. I felt sort of unsure why they were building, yet another service environment, given that we have ServiceNow, we have Dovetail, we have Ultimate People Docs. There's a whole variety of service center type capabilities that Workday customers are already using, and I'll be unsure how that's going to play out, given that this is mainly HR focused. So you're going to have one shared set, one call center or ticketing tool for HR, another one for IT. Seemed a bit of a retrograde step. And my one criticism of Workday is sometimes I think they build things that probably that they should rely on stuff that other people have built more. But Workday's, I think, focus tends to be build things themselves, and that has advantages and of course disadvantages. But
challenges,
but I didn't feel that excited about seeing another ticketing system. But I thought that the shift of the user experience away from transaction based to dialogue based, I think is a common theme in the industry. I think led in many ways by ServiceNow. So it's an interesting repose, I think, to ServiceNow as much as anything.
Well, I'd love to have the conversation with you, because I don't even think about ServiceNow from the people experience side. I just think it collapses the UX of the application. Absolutely, the HR service, employee service is a big area, and I totally agree with your assessment. It's become an RFP ticket item. You must have it. And if you think inside of the enterprise, right? I mean, a lot of dirt, if you want, and challenges on IT or in HR are in these case systems, right? So there's a question of control. Do I want to share this enterprise-wide or not? Which is actually the right thing to do, because you don't want to have, as an employee, have a different system from Salesforce, because we use that for CRM, and a different one for Workday, and a different one for SAP. And if I have my IT problem, then I have to use ServiceNow, right? So I end up with like 4 different knowledge-based systems that can't be the solution. But for now, with ServiceNow so successfully getting into the HR space, I think all the HR vendors are pushed to have a solution, right? So
exactly, they need a response to the response to ServiceNow. And I think what's also happening is that it's not just the call center, is that the DIY low code, if you can use that term, capabilities of ServiceNow. HR's kind of always been a zone of DIY, and having to react to that, building additional applications and so on, I think also leads into Workday's PaaS and extensibility efforts as well. So in a sense, it's a competitive response to what SuccessFactors and others have done, but I think it's also a response to ServiceNow.
Yeah. So watching the time here, my third takeaway was the first blockchain production app in HR that I'm aware of from a major vendor, which was Workday Credentials. Hey, I have my first credentials in an app in a blockchain. So have you looked at the app as well? So
I
I'm
haven't.
proud of it. So,
I listened to a presentation and I didn't quite click onto the app. I think, again, I like it. It's probably it's the thing that surprised me at the event, something that was experimental. And, when I chatted to Neil, it was kind of see how this goes, but they're very excited about it. I think it's potentially interesting. I said, oh, you've got it.
So I've been there twice, obviously, right? So I have a double in there, but okay, minor. Every human will figure out, well, he can't have attended Workday Rising twice.
Yeah, I guess Ray Wang must have about 5 in there, because he's at 5 different places at the same time.
Yeah, no, but the interesting thing is, you're absolutely right, is that it's not enterprise software like, because this is almost a consumer play, and Workday understands this, right? So for solving this cannot be a Workday solutions, because they still have 40 million people in their systems. That's a significant chunk, but it's nowhere close to what you need to solve this problem. So I think the key will be for them to opening up their platform and seeing if their main competitors are ready to collaborate for something which, frankly, LinkedIn should have done 10 years ago and hasn't, right? So blockchain or not is a different story, but from a valid certification, right? I have this funny, true story that my dentist has endorsed me for knowledge and enterprise software. Yeah, so I don't know how we never talked about this. He knows I work in this space.
I want some of that. Whatever your dentist is giving you, I want some of that.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but again, I think this whole point also plays into the Workday skills, focused on skills. And I think there's this shift, if you like, from process and feature to data, and that for me was the big takeaway from the event. I mean, there was a lot of new HR functionality. Workday's, scrambling to get its recruitment story right. Its recruitment product has to date not been particularly well received. So they're making enhancements there. Similarly, also on the learning side. There's a lot of function feature build out from Workday, some of which I think maybe they could be spending their R&D elsewhere, but I guess that's why they're doing it. But lots of feature improvements. But the big thing for me, that takeaway, was the shift between the functionality being at the center of the event to more the machine learning and the data and the analytics being the star of the show. And let's see where the platform stuff goes. Let's see if people actually start building stuff on Workday. If Workday can open up the closed door just a little bit and build a developer community around those products.
Right. Yeah, and that leads to the fourth point, right? The Workday cloud platform. I think it was originally supposed to go live this fall, but okay, it's going to go live in spring. Better to get things right and out there, but it's a fundamental change. And basically, Workday has done 5-6 years from being completely closed. You can't add a field. We're SaaS. You don't want to change anything, right? All to put in perspective of the not so great history around people tools, allowing customers to over customize, giving so many soft people are at Workday right now, to allowing you pretty much do everything. And there's some interesting apps people have built outside.
Yeah, it's going to be a balancing act. It's going to be a balancing act. Interesting to see also the fledgling VC community emerging around Workday with their investments there, and I think what you realize is if you have a closed environment, you have to build everything yourself. Every customer demand becomes your development request. Whereas once you have a framework that allows reliable extensibility, then instead of building every little feature you're in with your engineering, you can palm off that to partners and also to customers themselves. So I think it's long overdue. When I spoke to Dave Clark, that's the CTO. I think patience is their approach. They're treading very carefully here. They don't want to rush it. They want to get it right. They don't feel that they have to charge into this. So I think cautious is the word that their approach to platform. And it's given their cultural position, I think that's sensible. The hard things with platform are not normally the technology. It's the support environment and the infrastructure to make sure that when people build stuff, that they're building it reliably and stably without impacting the core value proposition of Workday. So I think cautious is the word there.
Right. So takeaway, Thomas. 2-3 days at Workday Rising. What should Workday customers and prospects think where Workday is? What they should do, what they should watch. I'm happy to start. So if you want to think about it, right? So my point of view is they're obviously doubling down on my machine learning, right? machine learning has tremendous promise. There's no discussion, but the real world benefits have to be coming out of these applications. Many of them ship in the spring release 2020. So in summer 2020, we should see that they really do something. I think it's good that they did something out of the box with credentials. Delaying the past is fine, but they have to get things right later. And the big thing what's happening behind the scenes, I'm not saying they have to move, in my view, to much more of a public cloud versus the hosted environment that they're running right now, because that enables the whole AI or machine learning, now I said AI myself, or the whole machine learning capabilities, which actually has not be curated models where data scientists are doing something, but has to continuously running on their data, right? So that's my takeaways. That's a recommendation for people watching them. See the roadmap, see the progress, if it works for you. And behind the scenes, there's massive replatforming taking place.
Yeah, I'd say to Workday customers, keep an eye on the functional improvements around the edges with recruitment and learning. Again, I'm speaking merely from an HCM point of view.
Yep.
I was impressed with the enhancements to payroll. I'm still disappointed that the Workday haven't got a global payroll strategy, but
No, we share that as
for
a
North
point.
America,
Yep.
North America and Canada, I think the product is looking much improved from as where I thought it was. That was a pleasant surprise for me.
Yep.
Where the payroll was where the payroll was at, and I start to say to organizations, think about your data strategy. So think about machine learning and how you use your data, not just process centricity, but start to think about the value of your data, and think about how your processes and your way of thinking can become more data centric rather than just function feature, the function feature centric of the past. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's a great resume. This was fun doing instead of me talking by myself, Thomas. Thank you very much.
Maybe we do this. I mean, I've not been going to many events, but maybe I'll start to do a few more. But if I get to hang with you and
any digital exhaust people can find from you about the event beyond this? Anything you write or you tweeted or?
I haven't really, and maybe I should. Maybe I should actually. For those of you that don't know, I've spent the last few years writing PhD, so I've gone off writing for a bit, but maybe I should get my writing mojo back and write a bit more. But
you have a blog, right? You have a blog, right? Where's your blog?
Do you have a blog? If you go to the otteradvisory.com website, and there's the occasional blog post. The occasional blog post there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And,
very good.
So hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So from my side, it's I always collect my tweets in Wakelet, also a new tool, pretty handy if you want to see what happened, what I thought there at the event. I did the one slide on SlideShare, which you can find there, which I've been using with this new tool, StreamYard, which actually I think worked pretty well today.
Yeah,
with the videos we produced. Yeah, cool. I could blend it in, something I've been looking for since I'm an analyst in 6 years, to get this done real time, which is the cool thing about this, and in a browser, which you should all be happening. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Thomas. This is Holger Mueller from Constellation Research. You can find me on Twitter at HolgerMU, and Thomas is at
Vendor Pricey.
Perfect. Thank you so much for watching.
We'll talk soon, Holger. Great to see you again. And
thank you.
Regards to all. Cheers now.
Cheers. Bye-bye.